Hey, everybody, and thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of Faithfully Her. I am your girl, Liana Michelle, and today we have on with us a woman that I'm so excited to finally be able to sit down with. We kind of connected about a month or so ago, and then life got in the way. But yay, God, he brought us back to the table together, and I'm so super excited about speaking to her and her business and all the wonderful things that she's doing right now. So we have on the line with us today, Jalen. Jalen owns sole proprietor, yay, Black woman, JLW Medical Management Consulting. And this is out of Massachusetts, I believe the Boston area. She offers solutions that will help new and existing clients identify challenges within their organizations and develop strategic plans to navigate through multiple uncoordinated systems. I'm sorry, I couldn't even read my own writing right there.
It's okay.
She also specializes in psychological, physical therapy, primary care, mental health counseling, practice management, training, and development. So if this is what your business is dealing with and you're trying to set up and you don't know how to manage the systems, this is the woman that you want to contact. She's going to get it right for you. So everybody put your hands together and let's welcome Jalen.
Hey, everybody.
So again, thank you so much for jumping on with me today. How are you doing?
You're very welcome. I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Thank you.
Okay, so let's talk about your background a little bit and how you got to becoming a boss.
I love it. So I attended Northeastern University where I studied healthcare administration and management with a special focus on, or I should say minors in psychology and political science. I've worked in different areas from physical therapy, mental health, primary care, OBGYN, pharmaceutical, you name it, I have been there. And transitioning to my own company started because I was laid off consistently in almost any contract that I had. And so there was this one doctor that I worked for temporarily that needed help restructuring his systems. And at the time, I was trying to figure out if I wanted to go the entrepreneur route or if I wanted to stay working for someone else. And this doctor was amazing. Like, he was 35. He had his own pharmaceutical line as well as his own practice and was rapidly expanding. And I remember we had a conversation about, what it is I wanted to do and where I wanted to go and how I wanted to get there. And he just encouraged me to find what it is I enjoy, tap into it, and turn it into a business. So I started researching while I was working for him. And that's how I started the consulting agency, just learning that I could become a consultant and help people in areas where they were struggling. Because one of the things that I found when I went into different contracts is systems and processes were always disrupted or disorganized. And so they were hiring people to come in and help them get reorganized. And I kept thinking, how much money could you have saved if you had had the proper systems in place at the beginning? So a part of what I do is make sure that people are starting their practices with the right foundation. As well as we also offer services to patients as well, free of charge, which is essentially connecting them to mental health providers. So it's a win-win situation when you work with us, because our goal is to keep you up and thriving, as well as keeping the access to resources available for patients.
Oh, wow, that's great. Now, I'm a little tech um, illiterate, I guess you could say. So when you say restructuring systems, what exactly is that? Is that like software for the computer program, or what is restructuring?
So we're looking at your internal processes, from your operations to your systems to your revenue, right? They're all connected. So if you have a dysfunctional operational flow, that's going to either well, let me kind of go back. The software that you have,
Uh-oh. So we pause for a second.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So one of the things that we focus on is your operations, right? Your operations, your technology, your finances, all of that is connected. So to start off, I look at your system and the kind of system that you have. If your system is a one-stop shop for everything, then we start looking at where the breakdown is. Is it a staff error? Is it a timing error? So the time of day, are you receiving more calls than normal? During a
Okay.
specific hour? Is it a matter of breaks and functions? So we really, it's not just the technical side of things. We look at everything because the way in which your operations flows affects your patients as well as it affects your revenue. So if patients are waiting long periods of time, no offense, we got some impatient patients out here, okay?
Yeah.
Nobody wants to sit and wait for over 20 minutes. So if they're waiting for over 20 minutes just to, be helped or acknowledged or whatever the case may be, those are the things we look for to help practices be successful because your business thrives off word of mouth, right?
Yeah.
Whether it comes from a doctor or a patient. And the moment a patient has a bad experience, from the feel of your office, the colors that you choose, all the way down to the admins and the paperwork and the processes, they're going to go back to their primary care and they're going to say, hey, listen, I didn't have a good experience at that practice.
Mhm.
I had to wait. I'm not going back. Do you have another referral? And if you don't already have a relationship with that doctor, what tends to happen is now their patient that they sent you, in the back of their mind, they're thinking bad experience. And so when it comes to referring you again, then they're going to be less likely to do that. So this is why we really put a heavy focus on the operations to make sure not only the admins are trained and can look at things from different lenses, right? Because that's important, but also that the patient experience is taken into consideration when you're developing and improving your operational plans.
It's funny that you said that. I have a friend who, since like the first of the year, he's been having trouble with his knee, like just extreme amount of
Okay.
pain, extreme amount of pain. So, he's gone to the primary. The primary sent him a referral to another doctor, of course. So x-rays, MRIs, like test after test, all of this stuff. And he went to them. I want to say this was just Tuesday. He told me, because I called him like, hey, whatever happened with your knee? You know what I'm saying? And he had the MRI last week. He goes back Tuesday. He went back Tuesday to get like the results to figure out what was going on. And one doctor told him, oh, it's your meniscus. And I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, okay? But told him that it was
Yes.
his meniscus or whatever it was. But then when he went to this particular doctor to look at treatment options, whether it was going to be surgery or whatever it is, that doctor was like, oh, it was nothing wrong with your x-rays. It was nothing wrong with your MRI. I didn't see anything. And he said, he was like, what are you talking about? Just last week, the doctor that you was told me that it was my meniscus. And he was like, oh, but it's minor. And he was like, how could it be minor? And I could barely walk. And I've been in pain since the first of the year. So a bad experience. So now he has to go back to his primary care doctor, get another referral to another doctor, and go through these processes and these tests all over again, all because he no longer trusts this person, because one person is telling him one thing, this doctor is telling him something else, and he's like, I don't trust you guys anymore, so now I have to start this process over and live with this pain even longer because it was such a bad experience. So when you say, word of mouth and bad experiences within the doctor's office for something like that, is there anything that your organization can do to make sure that what is being seen in the test result is actually the information that's being filtered?
So I can't speak to the actual results piece of it, but what we do is we refer patients to providers. So we have a provider directory. And so whether you're mental health or you're a social organization that offers a social supports, finances, housing, whatever the case may be, that's what that directory focuses on.
Oh,
So if a patient is looking for a new primary care because they are relocating, we will have primary cares listed. If they're looking for a mental health provider, then we will have mental health providers. And so with this particular software, what tends to happen is it's three prongs. So a primary care can refer, the patient can self-refer, but depending on their insurance or their cash pay, it won't necessarily be a problem, but for their insurance, they will need a referral if that's a requirement. So our patient referral specialist can work with the patient to get those documents. Our mission and our goal with that is to take the stress off the patient and help them through the process and educate them, because a lot of people don't know their rights in healthcare, and they just take what's being said for what it is, and then they're frustrated. So that's why we developed this particular directory. It gives us a hands-on experience. The other feature that it has is the mental health providers themselves. Let's say they interview the patient and they find that whatever their specific needs are can't be met at that practice. They can go in, research for mental health providers in the patient's area and refer them directly. And then our referral specialists get the referral, even though it's between doctors' offices or between patients, we can still see it. We'll go in, we'll make sure that everything is current, and then we'll pass the referral along and make sure that we're booking the appointments for the patients. So that's one neat feature. What else do we do? I'll just leave it there.
Even when talking about mental health, I'm not sure exactly how it is right now, but I know like some years ago when I first got into working in direct care or in the mental health field as a caseworker and so forth, a lot of private insurances were not covering therapeutic services. So you had to go through the state, and you had to get it through Medicaid or whatever. So now that mental health has been such a trending conversation and so many people are talking about it, is private insurances getting more on board with supporting mental health needs?
I don't have the answer to that. I
Okay.
wish I did. But that is something that I can research and get back to you. One person that I would recommend you guys reach out to, his name is Health Unicorn Mike. What I can do is I can email you his information and you can later share it with your audience, because he's the expert in insurance, right? And he will be the best person to guide you through that. I know that when I was looking for insurance, that was a huge, and I mean a huge problem for me to know that private insurances weren't offering it. So just a little tidbit for anybody that may or may not know this: when it comes to higher cost services like mental health, OBGYN, surgeries, surgical procedures, and in a lot of ways, and there are some insurances that are all about the patient, and then there are some insurances that are not, they do not want to pay it. Okay.
Right.
They have to mitigate their risk and they have to look at the cost versus the patient's portion of it, right? It's different when you have an employer sponsored plan. When an employer is sponsoring, then they are paying a portion of the premium, but the insurance is taking a total risk on individuals who are going in and paying premiums. And so there are going to be certain services that just won't be covered. A lot of them try to say that it's scientific related. Mental health has been around for years. At this point, it is a necessity. It is not, it is a necessity.
It's a necessity.
It's not how you would say cosmetic if you were going for
right. It's not a food job.
yes. You can't pretty up your mind.
Right.
So yeah, I definitely have to research that more to be able to answer, but he would be a great resource for that question.
Okay. And I just, and like you said, it's not cosmetic. A lot of people would think that, especially back in the day, oh, I have a therapist, and they would think like, oh, it's just something they're doing on their leisure time or something like that. But mental health is so important, because if you're mentally not whole or able to function, you can't do anything else. You're no good for your kids, for your family, for your job, your employer, because your mind is not able to focus and process and You know what I'm saying? So it is very, very important. I could just remember back before I started going to therapy, like back before I got a therapist, I would just have breakdowns. And I can remember my
Yeah.
supervisor like, "What is wrong with you?" And I'm like, "I have no idea why I'm sitting here crying
Oh my
right
God, yeah,
now." Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I heard somebody say something, it triggered something in me, and I cannot stop crying. But I had to go
yeah,
to therapy to dig into, like, why did that trigger me? Why is that a problem? And that helped me not sit at my desk and cry for 5-10 minutes at a time for no apparent reason. And you have clients and other people looking at you like you crazy, and I'm feeling crazy because I don't know why this is happening. You know what I'm saying? So I wish more employers or employers and insurance providers will really look at the benefits of
yeah.
offering mental health services to people, because it's from what's the saying, going postal. It might be the
Okay.
it might be the key to keep somebody from going postal. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And
Yes.
shooting up the school and everything else that happens nowadays, and it's all linked to some type of mental health issue. Um,
So
no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, I apologize. I was going to say that I agree 100%. This is why it is imperative that people, regardless of what state you're in, start attending health hearings. You know, healthcare policy is developed a lot based off companies, right? Companies are out there trying to push their agenda, their policies, what they need to benefit them. And when you think about that, right? When you think about who is backing the government, and how often a lot of these leaders are not supporting their own employees, your word is powerful. So you need to start attending state hearings where public forum and public comments are available to you to start advocating. I'll give you an example. I remember out here in Massachusetts, there was a senator that was trying to pass a law, and it got national coverage, and this particular law would change the way employers could treat employees, right? So essentially the law was basically talking about bullying. The current law is, if you have to bring a claim against an employer, based off the language, it has to fall in a specific category, such as your race, discrimination, gender, nationality, so on and so forth, right? But his new law and the way that they wrote it is, you could file a claim outside of the discrimination based off race, or retaliation based off race, ethnicity, nationality, so on and so forth. If there is a hostile environment and the employer is aware, and the employer does not respond and basically mitigate, then the employee would have an actual risk. Or if you were terminated, then because you filed a complaint, then you would have a claim. So what the fallback of that was, a lot of small business owners showed up based off the fines that would be assessed. They basically said, we can't we can't afford for this law to be pushed forward, because if it is, they are will be out of business very quickly. But when I testified, so I went to this particular hearing, the public hearing, my testimony was that in some cases, when it is individuals against their employers, and the individual is being represented by a small business owner, or their employer is a small business owner, just because you're small does not give you a right to violate the current laws that are in place. And so if you have people who are showing up and they are still unable to get the help that they need because, of a situation with their employer, which creates stress, and if that stress is not mitigated, it moves into a chronic state. What tends to happen is, now they're out of a job, they don't have a reference. There's nothing protecting the employees in those situations. And so I shared a personal experience that I had, and I'm telling you, the board, they were like, wow, like that actually happened. And, giving them the evidence and showing what transpired and how the company responded, that was impactful. Now, that law didn't go anywhere, but just my testimony alone moved the board to look and consider other things. And so when it comes to healthcare, we have to advocate for ourselves. If you don't know how to advocate for yourself, you need to get around somebody who will advocate for you, whether you are a provider and or a patient, because the reality is we can't move things along if we're being silent. So I
Right.
just wanted to share that little tidbit. It is so important to advocate.
No, and it is, and you're right about that. A lot of times we as the individual don't know how to take those steps and advocate for ourselves. We don't know who to contact in government or,
Yeah.
anything like that. And, if we Google it and we can't find it, then we kind of just be like, oh, you know what I'm saying? We throw our hands up. So thank you for offering that information and, shedding that light on those public hearings, and that the just a simple or single individual such as myself can go in and make a statement of impact to possibly open a door or shine a light on a situation that they're not focused on because they're looking at dollars and cents and not the person themselves.
Yes. Yes.
Quick question. I know that you are based out of Massachusetts, but as far as your database goes with providers and referrals and things of that nature, do you expand outside of your Massachusetts area?
Yes, we do. So right now, so our goal is national. We want to help everybody who's assigned to us across the United States. So right now we're focused on the eastern region, so everywhere all the way up from Vermont all the way down to Texas. That is, well, I don't know if Texas kind of falls under eastern, but I group them.
Okay.
So the southern eastern side, and then Texas, which
Okay. Okay. I got you, girl. And Texas is a huge state, so that's a big market
that
in
part.
itself. Yeah. That is
And
great
then
though.
thank you, thank you, thank you. We're trying. We're trying.
You're not trying, you are doing. That's what people tell
Come
me all the time.
on.
Every time I say, girl, I'm trying, they be like, no, you're doing.
Yes.
So you are doing, and I think what you're doing is fabulous. That's one of the things that attracted me to your page. For one, I saw you were a sister of color, and I was like, oh, a sister of color, private practice. I'm like, let me go to her page and read some more and see what she's doing. And then I like the aspect that, it was medical management, but you had that mental health aspect to you. So, and me being a person who has worked in mental health, who, like I said, go to therapy, like I'm gonna have to call my therapist tomorrow. But mental health is very important to me because a lot of times we suffer traumatic experiences, we don't get the proper care
Yes.
and help for it, and then we grow with that trauma, and our
Yes.
behavior reflects that trauma, and no one knows why the behavior is there. And maybe even as you've grown up, maybe you stored it. Like for me, I stored my trauma. I put it in this box, my little imaginary trauma box. I put a
Yeah. Yeah.
padlock on it. I stuck it up in the back of a closet somewhere so it could just collect dust. And I kept moving with life. But my behavior was a reflection of everything that was in that box. And
Yes.
right. And it took me to get into my 30s to start going to therapy
Yeah.
and for my therapist to say, I need for you to unpack that box. And that
Yes.
was such a hard thing to do. But once I did it, everything that I pulled out of that box was a weight lifted off of my shoulder. It became a
Yes.
lighter because then I started understanding myself more. I understood my movements, my behavior and everything. And as I understood myself more, I began to get lighter and I started
Yes.
feeling better, and I wasn't having these reoccurring dreams anymore. And you know what I'm saying? And things of that.
Yeah.
So I always promote mental health care. I always promote, get you a therapist, find you somebody to talk to. and just unload, get that off of your chest, because it doesn't belong with you. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And it'll just make your life so much better. So again, I just want to thank you for being able to link people to those type of services so they can get the help that they need, so they can free themselves from those that hurt and that pain and that trauma that they've experienced somewhere along the line of life. So I'm in Michigan. Are you connected here in Michigan with mental health facilities or medical providers?
I'm connected with a few, not a lot, but
Okay,
I
I'm
am
going to send
working
you
to
some
build more
names.
connections.
I'm going to send
Okay.
you some names and get you connected with my good sister, Miracle Norred at Building Beyond Borders. They specialize.
Ooh.
Yeah, Building Beyond Barriers. I'm sorry, I don't know why I always want to say
yes,
but it's Building Beyond Barriers. And they specialize in trauma recovery, grief trauma, trauma recovery and stuff. So they do a lot of counseling and coaching and mentoring work for individuals. And they hold events and all kind of things, and they just bring people together. And you know, they talk about their traumatic experiences to open up that door to make other people feel safe. And then they begin to work them through the process to get them to that other side of recovery and healing. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna I'll send it to you so you can have that information, and then that'll just be another avenue for you to connect with on this side of the fence.
That sounds good. Thank you so much.
No, that's one of the things that I do like about doing this show, is being able to see where you can build connections between people.
Yes.
You know, because even though you're in the management part of it and the restructuring of systems, what you're doing is a direct link to what some of my other guests are doing, you know. And so if I can help bring two people together where they could continue to blossom and grow, helping people in the community, then that's what this is all about. So yeah, thanks for being open to that. Okay, so I want to delve into something else. I know we don't have to go into detail because your business is your business. But my sister and we were supposed to link up a few, like I said, a month or so ago. Jalen and I were supposed to link up, and then life got in the way. And then we finally had the opportunity to talk on the phone again a couple of days ago. And it was such an inspirational moment, I felt like. So I just kind of want to talk about that part of it. What keeps you smiling in the face of adversity, and what keeps your head held high when everything is trying to come at you to pull you back?
Oh, that is such a good question. I think first and foremost, I'm going to say God. God has been the strength and the source of my life, and he continues to show me that no matter what I go through, he is there. It doesn't matter. I know it doesn't look like I'm here, but I'm working this out for your good. I stay in worship and I stay in my word. I do have days. Don't get it twisted. Like just yesterday, I was in a funk all day with my situation. And one of the things I had to remember is that I have to feel what I feel. If I don't feel what I feel, then I harbor it. And then, as shared earlier, you put it into that trauma box and you put it away until later on you're exploding on someone, or you're being rude, or you're fighting, whatever the case may be. And it's because instead of dealing with the feeling in that moment, you just put it away. And so many times I hear people talk about how, oh, I don't have time to feel what I feel. I have to focus, blah, blah, blah. I understand that. I respect it. I learned a new technique called worry time technique. And basically you take that memory, you do put it in it's your worry box or your trauma box, but you dedicate a time of the day that's the time of day that you're going to worry. Okay. So you go back, you revisit it. And even if it's painful, try to push through it. I'm not a counselor, so I can't advise you. I will tell you what I do. I do
Right.
push through it because I recognize that if I don't do it, then the enemy is going to come in and he's going to use that very thing against me later on.
Mm-hmm.
There's a song by Jonathan McReynolds called Cycles, and it says something along the lines of, he learns from your mistakes. And so when I heard that song, the very first time I heard that song, I'm telling y'all, I rejected it. I was like, nah, I'm not trying to hear that right now. But then the more I found myself in situations, the more I'm like, well, if he's learning from my mistakes, why don't I start learning what he's learning so that he can't use the very thing against me? So that worry time technique is a part of not worrying, or I should say, not worrying when I'm busy. And you'll find that distraction comes the most when either A, you're getting ready to move into a position that God wants you to move into, or when you are doing work and that work is tied to somebody else who has a need that you're fixing. You know, we get attacked because of who we are and whose we are, but the people attached to us, we have to intercede for them, and we can only do that if we're staying grounded in his presence. And I stay listening to what's her name, Jalen Carr, right here, stay right here, because it talks about in your presence is where I find peace. And yeah, that's essentially how I'm able to do it. And for those who might tune in and they don't believe in a higher power, they're not spiritual, taking time to meditate is extremely important. Taking time to be with self and know your breathing and what you're feeling and your thoughts wandering. There are two books I recommend, two books that really helped me during this time. The Better Than Good Life, I can't remember the author's name, but it's a red cover with a white man on it. Okay. And then the second book is Unbeatable Mind. And it talks about the courage wolf and how to retrain your thoughts, meditation, and all different kinds of things. Now, in that particular book, the author is talking to Navy SEALs. However, even in that book, you can still get a lot of powerful things out of it. One in particular, it taught me about how they break down the brain, right? And then they talk about your conscious self and your conscious thoughts and how in an untrained mind, it will pull on an earlier image and an earlier situation. So when something else happens in that current moment, your thoughts automatically go to the last relevant memory. And that's where the triggers come into place. And so when I thought about that, I had a situation maybe about an hour later after reading that, I had a situation and my thoughts went to the left. And I said, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Am I feeling this way because what just went to the what just happened, or am I feeling this way because of a prior situation and now I'm linking the two? That can be very dangerous for us as different people are in different circumstances and they're trying to get out. You can keep yourself stuck if you are not being consciously aware of why you're feeling the way you feel. So I encourage people to read those two books, and just remember that this will pass. Everything that happens to us is to strengthen us and make us better. And it doesn't feel good in the moment. My situation, it does not feel good, but I know that when I come out on the other side, know that I said when I come out on the other side, it's going to be purposeful, and I am going to be blessed and blessing other people. We can't do anything in this life without others. I strongly believe that. It doesn't matter who left you, who didn't pick up your phone call, who didn't believe you. The reality is we are chosen for a specific thing. And in our respective industries, we are called to minister to others. And we can't do that if we're stuck and constantly saying, it's just me. It's self, it's why me and why that. We have to remember that we're going through it because of where we're getting positioned.
Amen. And that's what I enjoyed about speaking to you the other day on the phone, because even when you were kind of like, saying like, oh my God, this is what happened, I still heard a smile in your voice. Even through the pain and of what you were dealing with and going through, your voice was still smiling. That's why I asked you that question about what keeps you going, because your voice, you could just hear the smile. Even if you were over there in tears, I heard a smile on your voice, in your voice. And that's what encouraged me to be able to find encouraging words to give back to you. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I was
Yes.
able to draw off of the smile in your voice. So I think that that is a great a great talent to have, because sometimes we can't always smile through the pain. We don't know
Yes.
how to, you know, what they say, have that poker face. Or, you know, some people, they wear they heart on their sleeve, they're physically
Oh, Lord.
on their face, they can't hide it. But you know, your voice just came through so positive and light. I was just like, oh, like, girl, let me get in this word. Let me give you a word of encouragement. You know what I'm saying? Like, it really, it fired me up. Your voice fired, put a fire in me. So thank you for that, and for being that type of a light that is shining for people.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. If I may say one more thing,
Uh-huh.
um, you just as you were talking, you reminded me that our pain is not for us. And so when it comes to going through something, I don't care if you don't know them, talk to them, because you don't know who has a resource for you that can benefit you in your life, in your situation, even if it takes 3 calls. You just never know how one situation will turn out for your benefit. So if you're like me, because I'm not gonna lie, I struggle to tell people stuff, and you are struggling, whether it's pride, whether it's scared of judgment, whatever the case may be, remember, the same way you're assigned to somebody, somebody is assigned to you. So I just wanted to leave that last bit of encouragement to help people to be able to feel a little more at ease with opening up. I don't know who needs to hear it, but your voice is your power. I'll say it again.
Yes, it is. And I know I said I wasn't going to keep you really long because you're in the car. I think I asked you about that. We talked about that. Just kind of making sure we hit our point. Um, and you know, you're a private practice, so you know, I'm really, really proud of the work that you're doing, and the fact that you're independently owned. It's your business, and it's not a business that is typical, I would say. You know, most people that are starting independent businesses are doing things maybe in cosmetics or fashions, or you know, those type of things. But for you to take on this particular task of medical, and saying, not only am I going to go in here and create a system that works within this medical facility, but I'm going to provide a service to link people to proper medical care, whether it's physical or mental health. I really, really, really commend you for that. And I want to thank you for taking on such a major responsibility and bridging that gap for so many people.
You're very welcome. It's my pleasure.
So before I let you get up out of here, because I don't want you to be in that car burning up, do you have any words of encouragement or any final thoughts that you just want to leave with the people who are watching us? Or whether it's
Be the
about your
change you
business or anything, leave us with your final thoughts.
Thank you, thank you. My encouragement would be the change you want to see in the world so the next generation can be the change we need. It was mentioned earlier that one of your friends, she has the business, I think it was Beyond the Barrier. And I love that name because barriers are I would say the majority reason of why people are struggling. And if we can't see the message behind the behavior, if we can't look beyond what's being said and see what's not being said, we are doing our communities a disservice. We have to stop, the stereotype that we create and that others, we have to start stronger, that we change and going and creating it, regardless of what they're going to do. When you start disrupting systems, it's global. Ready. So my encouraging word would be the change you want to see in the world. So the next generation can be the change that we need. You know, we heard it earlier stated that their current company called Beyond the Barriers. And when you think about that and you think about that name, which I thought was just so powerful, hence why I got excited. You think about how we have to show up for one another to make sure that that person faces, whether that's in your family, your friends, your circles, your coworkers, they know that they have support and they know where they can turn to. You may not be able to do everything for them, but you may be able to point them in the direction or you just never know how your resources or the resources that you become familiar with can lead to an open door for someone else. So, you know, start researching and really taking control of your life. We can't wait for other people to do it for us. We have to do it. And that's why I started JLW. I could not wait for somebody to see my worth. I had to know my worth, which I did, go out and establish my company, but also make sure that in everything I did, it was for the people. Because there's a scripture, I can't remember it, but I did read it recently that talks about God honors those who help those in need. And so when we honored, he will do abundantly and exceedingly all that we can ask for, right? And beyond it. So when we start addressing the needs, companies exist to address a need. When we do that, we're honoring God. And when God is honored, we get the favor. So my encouragement, whatever you do and in everything you do, make sure you're doing it in love and it's for others so that you can get honored and you can continue to be blessed.
Amen, sister. I love that. And you are absolutely right. You know, I say that often. When Jesus came and walked the earth, he didn't go and sit with the kings and the queens and the high priestess. He came down to where the poor man was, the lonely man was, and that's where he sat. And that's who he offered those words of love and encouragement and support to. And that's where he extended that helping hand and said, here's my hand, my brother. I'm going to pull you up. Now you reach your hand out and pull that person up. And that's exactly what we are supposed to do. We are supposed to extend those hands to our fellow man and help pull them up and bring them out of their place of darkness and into a place of light and hope and love. So you are absolutely right with that. I love that. Oh, I just want to hug you.
Virtual hug.
So, everybody, again, thank you for tuning in. This has been Jalen. And Jalen, again, is the owner of JLW Medical Management Consulting. So if you're anywhere on the East Coast, all the way to Texas, because we're not going to forget Texas. So from the East Coast to Texas, and you are in need of, if you are a medical company or of operating on any type of level and you need to be restructured, you need to be reorganized, maybe you are not attracting patients or people in the community the way you would like to, then reach out to my good sister. All of her information is going to be in the description box, so you'll know how to contact her and schedule yourself a consultation and allow her to come in and do what she needs to do to help you build your business so it operates better and that is functioning properly to where your clients are getting service in the way that they really need to. If you are a person out here and you're in need of medical care and say you've gone to this doctor or that doctor and you just don't feel safe with them, you don't feel like they're listening to you, they're not providing you with the services that you think you need, reach out to my good sister right here. And what she's going to be able to do is assess that need for you and link you up with the proper medical provider or facility that can actually give you what you're looking for and help you out so you could be happy with the services that you're receiving. If there's trouble with your medical insurance and you're not really sure what they will pay for or anything like that, she may not be the exact one, but she knows the health unicorn named Mike, the healthcare unicorn named Mike, and he will be able to come on board in association with her and still help you find what you need so you could get the service that you definitely deserve. Remember,
Yes.
your health is important. From your mental health to the sole of your feet, your health
Yes.
is important, because if you're not thinking right, you can't function properly. If your
Yes.
feet hurt, you can't even get there, child. So let my good sister Jalen help you from head to toe. Get yourself together so you can go out here and be the best you that you can be. Okay? And again, I just want to
Yes.
say to everybody, as always, when writing the story of your life, don't let anyone else hold the pen. This is your story. You write it. Okay? So, again, Jalen, thank you so much for taking time with me and coming on.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much.
Okay, so you stay right there. Everybody else, I just want to say goodbye to you. Have a great week in Christ. And remember, I love you guys.